Hello, plant animal kiddos. It's Here from Schmitt. I hope you are acclimating to distance learning. You're doing, feeling confident about it. Like I've said in every other video, if you have any questions or concerns or anything about any of this, please reach out to me so that I can help you or that we can find something that'll work for you. So yeah, shoot me an email, message, whatever you need. So we're gonna be talking about the poultry industry, and hopefully this will kind of get you excited. Kind of be thinking about, those that if you have chickens at home, or you may be interested in chickens, or something you want in the future. Kind of like we absorb this information because this isn't just for the industry. This stuff goes to, animals that you could potentially have at home. So pretty cool stuff going on. So just what do we use poultry for? Well, other than just first thing you think of is like, oh, we eat chicken, we eat eggs. Those of you that celebrate Thanksgiving, the tradition for mainstream America, those have the Thanksgiving turkeys. I know other cultures use other different types of dishes, but that is kind of something that is iconic. Chicken nuggets, of course. Who doesn't like some Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets? That's sure one of my favorites. Eggs for baking. A lot of people eat eggs for breakfast and use in a lot of different dishes. Some other things that we do use the feathers for down pillows or down blankets. Some of you might have those types of pillows and blankets at home. We sometimes use eggs for vaccinations and medicine. And then also we see feathers in like fishing lures. Those of you that like to go fishing, you can see it helps attract fish to the lure when you're fishing. So there's some kind of cool uses for poultry. So the different sectors of the industry, we see egg production with chickens, broiler production with chickens. We use raising replacement pullets, which means we raise chicks to be breeders. And then we have meat turkey production, because that is such a huge part too. A lot of people do eat turkey meat. And then waterfowl. Why isn't waterfowl really kind of in those sectors? Well, it is not necessarily a popular sector at least in the United States. And a lot of the poultry or the waterfowl that we do have, it usually is for meat. So we do have duck meat and geese. A lot of people do hunting with those, with the wildlife. But when it comes to large scale agriculture, we're not really focused on waterfowl. It's not as popular. So the biggest ones: egg productions from chickens, broiler production with chickens, raising replacement pullets, which means you're raising females for breeders, and then meat production with turkeys. So production trends. Well, nowadays a number of farms that we have are actually decreasing. So we don't have as many farms, but we do have more chickens that are raised per farm. So we're having farmers raising a lot more chickens in one area instead of having multiple farms with chickens. So you're going to see very large production operations when it comes to raising chickens. So we are seeing a slight decline in popularity of eggs in the industry. The biggest thing is that there is a lot of research going into seeing, the cholesterol concerns when it comes to consumption of eggs. So there's been in the I think back in the 1900s, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, there was a fluctuation with the popularity of eggs, and it had to do with health. Chicken meat. So this is a huge popularity. A lot of people consume chicken in our country, and so that's the biggest part of our industry. So this is perceived to have less cholesterol than beef and pork. A lot of people think, okay, that's more of a healthier meat to consume. A lot of people like to consume chicken when it's, the beginning of the year in January because they want to have, be healthy. So that's what a lot of people consume. So the top states for when it comes to egg laying and broilers. So California is not actually the one of the top producers. We are about 5th in the egg laying and egg production, but we're actually not focused on broilers or the meat chickens. Why? Well, remember, we have a really cool climate and we are focused on a lot of other specialty crops where we want to do what we're good at. And so leave it to the other states to be, the best at producing chickens. So California is 5th in the top states of egg laying, but Georgia, Arkansas, Alabama, North Carolina, I'm sorry that cut off, and then Mississippi is one of the top ones. So pretty cool. Let's see, poultry enterprises. So let's focus on the egg production. So when it comes to egg production, you have laying hens, and they are the ones that are producing the eggs. And so there's 2 ways of producing eggs. So we have confined cages and we have free range. And you might actually see these words on your egg cartons. So next time you go to the grocery store, check out the egg cartons and see what they say. So there's those 2 different ways. Now in California, confined cages are actually considered their government has said we're not allowed to, that it's inhumane. So we do use a type of free range, and you might have already seen in your video some of those videos that you've seen of the free range type of barns. So after production cycles, so after about 5 years or so, hens are sold for meat at the end of their life cycle, because at about 5 years, they're not producing as much as they should be. So this is a picture of confined cages. So usually there's about 3 to 4 chickens in a small pen, and they will lay the egg, and the eggs go down into a some systems have conveyor belts, others have just kind of series of tunnels and I guess you can say little ramps for the eggs to travel through. The pens are always clean. They always have food and water. They just are in a small space. And so this is to help with controlling diseases and cleanliness and kind of making sure that the hens aren't really exposed to a lot of different factors. So it's just the confined space method was really based on health of the animal. Now, is it fun to be in a pen like that? It's a matter of opinion, but our state has ruled that it is not humane. So this is an example of free range. Now, it's the chickens can move around wherever they want, but they are exposed to a lot more other chickens where the spread of disease is more likely to happen. But again, think about it. Is this, is it fair to live in this type of thing, or is this normal? But this is the way that we're doing it. Now, how the chickens, how they collect the eggs. So you can kind of see this is very systematic, and this is not. So you can see that these types of eggs are going to be cheaper because there's less labor that has to go into it. The chickens are going to be there's more controlled setting versus this. So, kind of a matter of opinion in the way that you would like your food raised. But these are the 2 types. So this is confined cages, and would be considered free range. So egg production. This is the floor system. So the floor system gathers the eggs 3 times a day, and so the cage system is automatic. Now they just kind of grab the eggs as they will roll down into a belt and they will get gathered. So it's the floor system, they come through 3 times a day to collect. Cage system, it's automatic. Some of the chickens breeds that you might see in the industry would be Rhode Island Reds and Leghorns. Rhode Island Reds are famous for their red eggs, and then the Leghorns are actually famous for their white eggs. So you will see those eggs that you see in the grocery store would have came from one of the 2 breeds that you see on here. So they lay between 5 and 7 eggs per week. So it means almost an egg a day, which is pretty cool. They're one of the highest production chicken breeds. And so they keep, like I said, hens up to 5 years. Their best production is in the first 2 years, but they will keep them up till 5 years, and then after that, they will sell them to the market. And then when we increase the light duration in the barn and the intensity for the onset of egg laying, so that light plays a huge factor into laying eggs. So we want, what we do is we have lights on for a certain amount of time, usually longer than normal daylight, and this will help with the production of eggs. So it will actually increase the egg production. Care and handling of eggs. Now, we want to make sure that everyone is safe and healthy, but also that it is careful. So we have to wash eggs from any poop or feathers. They must be clean, so they are either a dry cleaning that we kind of wipe off, or they use an actually egg washing machine. Now, the problem with that is when you actually physically wash an egg after you had picked it up from a chicken, you are removing a film over those pores, and it's kind of loses that shelf life that it can hold. So it's actually about 2 weeks when that the egg will last, versus fresher eggs can last almost up to a month. So there's kind of those gives and takes when it comes to washing the eggs. Maintaining quality by keeping them cool. That's why we keep them in a cool place, or where you see them in a refrigerator. Got to keep them humid. You don't want it to be dry or too wet. You wanted that humid type of air. And then the degrees, you want to keep that at least by 65 degrees or lower. And then stored separately. You don't want them kind of all grouped together. That's why they're in an egg carton, and they are separated into those little, I guess you can say, little slots for the eggs to sit. And so actually eggs will absorb odors because they have all those pores. So you want to make sure that they are held separately. So we're going to quickly go through finished egg production. Do you need a rooster for a hen to lay an egg? Actually, no. That means you just need them to fertilize the eggs so that you can have chicks. Otherwise, you do not need a rooster. They will produce eggs without a rooster. So how are they fertilized? Well, internally, before they are laid is when they would get fertilized. So it takes about 7 or 10 days for the sperm to travel to the ovary. And then what's really cool is that the chicken will lay fertile eggs for about 6 to 10 days after they have been spoken with a rooster. So pretty cool stuff. We're going to talk about broiler production and replacement pullets. So broiler production is that meat, the meat chickens, and then we produce high quality rations or food that is to kind of help with efficiently growing the animal. So we give them with a special food that is complete, that allows them to grow as quickly and fast as possible with the best nutrition. And then replacement pullets. So this is replacing chickens for breeding, and so raising chicks for egg production or for broiler production. So for broilers, it's really important is that we want them to gain weight. We want them to convert food efficiently so that they're not taking too long on growing, because they want to. We have a high demand for chickens, so we got to get as many chickens as possible ready for the market. We breast meat yields, because that is the most desired cut of meat. We want them to have a high yield of breast meat. Carcass conformation. You don't want an animal's carcass to be not complete. You want it to be kind of that perfect chicken with the legs and the wings perfect. Chick viability means the chick is able to survive and be successful in growing, and then being resistant to diseases. So broiler production actually only takes up to about 6 to up to 8 weeks or so is really the rule of thumb. They get to about 4 pounds, and for every 1.5 pounds of food that they produce or that they eat, they're going to gain 1 pound of feed or muscle. So pretty cool stuff. And they only require about a square foot of area. So kind of some advantages and disadvantages we'll kind of talk about later. But I have an awesome opportunity